The longest year in living memory is drawing to an end. It's time to look at the month ahead for December. Would you believe December is almost here? I know that you're thinking, we haven't even finished November yet. Just a quick little reminder for those of you who don't know. The astrological month goes from more or less the 21st of one month to the 20th of another month. It changes a little bit month to month and even year to year, as you've no doubt noticed when you try and look up your sun sign in a newspaper or magazine, and you see that the one publication will say one date and another one will say a date that's a day or two different when those sun signs begin. And that's because the sun enters a new sign a little bit at a different time every year. Our calendar's not so accurate. The sun is pretty accurate. So we translate that back into our human calendar and always makes it around the 21st. So tomorrow, the 21st, is indeed when our month of December, the month of Sagittarius, starts from the astrological point of view. Starting off by looking at what's happening in South Africa and what we can expect over the course of this next month. For the most part, things that have been set up in November are beginning to unfold during the month of December. While that does make things a little bit less dramatic in the sense of no major new stuff to be that scared of, it does make it a little bit worrying in terms of the rising coronavirus numbers, which we began to see during November and which look more serious over the course of the next many weeks. There is quite a clear focus on health matters, public health matters in the chart for the month ahead, and it's not really that surprising considering that there will be more tourism going on, there will be more people moving around the country, and there will be more complacency, and that is of course contributing to the continuingly rising numbers over the course of the next month. So of course, take it easy over the holiday period and try not to fall into carelessness and assuming that everything's going to be okay, because looking at the chart, the concentration on the area of health is just not going away. So that looks like something we're still going to be dealing with for a while. Main issue there is the warning of rising numbers. Not quite as dramatic as we're seeing in other countries, at least not for now. So hopefully we can keep a lid on that, but it is becoming more serious. At the same time, what's also becoming a bit more serious is service delivery protests. There's going to be more of that. We've seen it in the last week or two, and that's going to escalate and will be on and off throughout the country and throughout the month of December. We're going to see more of that. It's not only protests, it's not only service delivery. That's a strong focus on the area of labor. And of course, some of that is also about trying to put the economy back together and trying to deal with the massive unemployment. That's going to become a big issue over this holiday period. Obviously, there are going to be plenty of people without the not only means to celebrate, but at the time when they are supposed to be able to share with family and even share gifts, it's going to be a very challenging time for a lot of people. We know that many of us are extra sensitive to emotional distress during the month of December because culturally we put so much pressure on ourselves to enjoy and have gifts, and you're supposed to be happy and you're supposed to celebrate. And of course, this year more than ever, there's much less to celebrate for so many people who are facing loss and unemployment as this year's gone by. But we are seeing quite a challenging month in this regard as well. So on the one hand, with the rising virus levels, on the other hand, with the country's labor force under a lot of strain and reactive to it at this time. We're going to have to hang in there and really push through. Of course, on the other side of what's been going on is the arrest and trial of Magashule, one of the first big names to get caught up into the corruption inquiry at the Zondo Commission. We've seen him kicking and fighting all the way, and we ain't seen nothing yet. What's really interesting is that just like we saw with Jacob Zuma and Pravaan Gordhan, you have two very similar people astrologically in the shape of Ace Magashule and Cyril Ramaphosa. They're both Scorpios. They both keep their secrets and keep their cards close to their chest. And they both are pretty dangerous enemies, which quite frankly is nice to know about Cyril Ramaphosa, because he often seems a bit ineffectual. And that's because he tends to take a more diplomatic approach. Ace Magashule has got way more Scorpio going on. He's hiding much more. We always knew that anyway. You didn't need an astrologer to tell you. But it is an affirmation from his astrological chart that he has the planet of deception in Scorpio. He is a Scorpio. He's got the planet of aggression in Scorpio. He's got all of that stuff that says, don't mess with me because you'll be in trouble. And that's going to be his approach, which we're already seeing in how his fight back is working. Protesting and demanding his innocence, his followers supporting him in essentially what's been a criminal exercise, and of course his position in the NEC, which he refuses in any way to let go of, despite being one of the first people just a couple of months ago to say that ANC members implicated for corruption must step aside. So we're going to see a lot of fighting, and of course I've spoken for months already about the infighting in the background that we don't see that's going on in the ANC. Now the nature of it, of course, is going to come out into the open, and essentially Ramaphosa and Magashule are pitted against each other as enemies. Magashule's fight is going to go on for a couple of months, and it looks like this is taking him to April of next year, when things really reach a level of explosion. He's still, at the moment, is on the back foot, and actually looking at his chart, it doesn't look good for him. But, you know, in that kind of language, it's a little bit like he pulls an ace out of his sleeve by the time we get to April, and obviously Ace is good at pulling aces. That's what he's known for too. So from his point of view, his fight is not over, and as I frequently say, from Ramaphosa's point of view, he's going to need to be a little bit scared. Ramaphosa's longer term future is not looking so great, and it looks like the ongoing battle in the ANC that is now, as before, reaching a point where it's in the public eye and we can see who's fighting who, that's going to be extremely destructive. Yes, to the party, but especially to Ramaphosa. And he needs to be very careful in terms of what's happening with the increasing grouping around Magashule and the consequences of that. He knows that, we all know that. It's obvious given the circumstances as well. It's just that the astrology is not looking so friendly to Ramaphosa in the end. So for a while, Ace is in trouble, but has got an ace up his sleeve, and we'll give it a few more months to see. So, while the ANC battle it out amongst themselves and a little bit in the public, and while we've all got to be a little bit wary of what's going on, in terms of any major disasters, we're probably okay until next year. Hopefully, we'll have more focus on getting the explosion of numbers under control as tourism increases. We do want the tourism industry to thrive, but unfortunately, the chart warns us especially that it's people from outside and from our neighboring countries in particular that are mentioned, although in general foreign countries are mentioned, that are going to contribute massively to the increase of numbers that we see inside the country. We've got a great protocol for getting into the country in terms of requiring a test, but as we know, the people who man our borders are where that protocol must be applied, and there's no guarantee that that's going to work very well. So be careful, be wary, try and avoid areas where lots of tourists are going to be found. Watch the numbers, wear your mask, have a masky Christmas. Let's have a look at what's happening to each of us. Aries, your ship has come in. Finally, the gates are open, the path is clear, and you can just go. That really means your goals, your ambitions, and especially those that are actually related to work, which is great, are really going to happen at this time. You can just go full steam ahead. As ever, you're the famously fools rush in where angels fear to tread sign. It doesn't mean no holds barred and everything's automatically going to be fantastic. You still, of course, have to take the usual precautions to not be reckless and not allow your enthusiasm to sometimes overcome your natural ability to actually succeed, which you do have. But it's that natural ability that's really being unlocked at this time. And in fact, as the month increases, there's more and more sign that things are really working for you. The goal for this month, though, is to make sure that you are using your creativity appropriately. One of the reasons why this is working so well for you, or they gave you the job, or the opportunity arose, is because there's something unique about you that was recognized, or that's what's going to help you succeed. So make sure you use your special talents, your special creativity. The door's open all the way. Taurus, you need to adjust some of your goals this month. For the most part, things can work for you, and in fact, luck is even on your side, which is a good thing to have. But at the same time, there's two things to watch out for. On the one hand, there's a little bit of opposition, whether that's in the case of a person or there's an alternative way for something to be done, whatever exactly it is. You do need to make sure that you kind of resolve and go forward and not get caught into a battle of wills or a battle of alternatives and confusion about which way you should be going. The other thing that you need to watch out for is losing momentum, which is a Taurian kind of possibility at the best of times. Does look like that is your big challenge this month. There are other things that seem to be outside of your control that could make you lose hope or despair, and trust me, it really isn't nearly as bad as that, because luck is on your side, which really means a little effort goes a long way. Small output is producing great results. Just make sure that you're clear and focused and not distracted by whatever's pulling in the opposite direction, which looks more than anything to be related to your personal life. Personal life needs to hold back. The luck is opening up. You need to follow that path. Gemini, you need to do a little regrouping. You need to do a little more spending time with loved ones and all the kinds of things that are really appropriate for this time of year. So aren't you lucky? But that really means that some of your goals don't need to be set aside, that you really need to find a space that you can concentrate a bit on what needs to be done, but not let that overwhelm. Don't get into the situation of, well, it's my work and it's important now. This month might be a test of getting your priorities right, and the priorities really need to be with family and with own stuff. This is a great opportunity to look within, to look at your own spiritual life and reconnect with yourself, and also get into a little bit more of how can I be useful and helpful. It's something that you love to do, and this is one of those times where, again, it serves the season so well, where you have a lot to offer as long as you're willing to let go of some of your personal ideals and personal goals, which shouldn't be too easy. And hey, for keeping with your own stuff, stick to your creative projects. You'll just love every step of the way. Cancerians, you've been having a little bit of a rough time lately. It's not going away that fast, but it's not as rough as it has been for most of you. Those of you whose time hasn't been so rough are also even going to benefit from things are looking a little bit better, provided that you open the right doors. And the right doors right now help from others. Cancerians are in the group of providers in astrology, and they love taking care of others, and they love providing for others' needs. All of those things are really great, but the problem is this time you've actually got to be on the receiving end. So chill. It's time to accept. In fact, many Cancerians are going to need the help and assistance of others. Some of you are struggling quite hard and have had some real suffering going on in your life lately, and there's a lot of help and support that can come from those around you, especially females, but not exclusively that, and other loved ones as well, including children. Cancerians really get on well with children. This is also a good time, even if you haven't been struggling, to draw on the help and what's available to you from other people. Time to call in those loans, time to get some of the rewards that are due to you for all the stuff that you've been putting out of late. Leos, things look like they're continuing to go well in terms of goals and paths. In fact, a little bit too well, because it looks like there's a whole lot on your plate. And don't forget that the holiday season is coming. In fact, any warnings I have about that for you are all about money. It looks like you might be overextending yourself, whether it's all the money that you need to spend or a little bit of recklessness and carelessness. Not too much of a problem, but Leos are noted for their extravagance, and let's just keep that to occasional extravagance, because it looks a little bit like it's out of control. Actually though, most Leos, it's expenses that can't be controlled, that have to be done, and you need to make sure that you don't overextend yourself in any way. Certainly you've got to make the payments you need to make, but this is not a time to push it too far. What's great to work on is properly valuing yourself and just reassessing and reassigning. What am I worth? What am I charging? What am I getting? Where are my expenses going? And just do that. It's not basic financial stuff. It's basic stuff about you. What are you worth? Let that be related to how your money is working, and then you'll really get a much better handle on it. Virgos, nobody needs to tell you to speak up for yourself, usually. Well, I'm here to do that anyway, because it is time, not only in the sense of you're always so busy being helpful that you never think of yourself, but actually, according to the charts this month, you are being heard. So it's not just about getting the balance right. It's actually a great opportunity to get your message out, to say what needs to be said, and actually to advance a good number of your goals, because speaking up means everyone knows what you want and everyone knows that you need. You know, you sometimes suffer from resentfulness or just sadness that nothing seems to get back to you. Maybe it's just a situation where you need to open your mouth more often and say, hey, what about me? Do that. It's going to work for you. In other news, in other aspects of speaking up for yourself at this time, you need to actually watch your words. It's great that you're speaking up, but it does look like you're going to press a few buttons and get into not a few arguments. It's great, you're getting your point across, and actually you're probably going to win those arguments, but you can afford to be just a little bit more sensitive at this time, and then your words will really be sweet and work for you. Libra, this festive season probably is one of your favorite times because it's the social time of the year, and as we know, this is a more challenged festive season than usual, but it does look like you're able to get all the joys and benefits of being home, of snuggling in, and actually bringing everyone to you. Of course, that's the careful small number of people in your family while you keep your safety in place. But it does look like home is where the heart is for Libra this month. Kind of don't go anywhere. It's helpful because financially it could be a challenging month, so you need to also do less that is about spending money. Don't worry about the financial situation. There's many resources available to you at this time, not the least of which seems to come from family members. So it also means, you know, it's a time of love and support. It's not just about celebration, and maybe we're doing less of that this year, but something that is still very much about the Christmas spirit is caring about each other and supporting each other through both emotional difficulty and financial difficulty. Wherever you lie on that scale, it's the month of connection and support. Focus on that. Don't worry so much about the money. Scorpios, well, you know, your sign mate, Ace Magashule, is not the only one who has to speak up and stand for himself, speak up for himself during this month, but so do you, and hopefully for much more pleasant reasons. It's a great time to voice your opinions, to stand up for yourself, to say what you've been meaning to say. You know, Scorpios, you're not the most tactful of people. Sometimes it's necessary to really be a little bit forceful, but you need to be aware that this month you seem to be a little bit too forceful. So be careful of stirring things up. There are lots of really sensitive people around you at this time, and even if you feel that they're being a little bit oversensitive, you're just going to have to be a little bit more careful yourself. There's a great opportunity to spend time doing things that you love, to spend time amongst people you love, not just talking about the holiday season where you get to be festive, but people who really want to help and support you and have something to offer you. So be willing to receive and give in return. Make sure that you state your case and state your cause. It's easy for you to get advanced with your goals this month. Sagittarius, it's already almost time for your birthday, so let me be the first to wish you on your birthday. And this is a good month for you to be doing those birthday things. What are those birthday things? It's really reflecting on the year that's passed and hopefully what you've learned from that, and very importantly what needs to be put into practice, because it does look like it is quite a challenging time for you. There's a lot of slog going on in your life with spending energy that isn't really getting you anywhere, spending money that isn't really getting you anywhere, and those are the things that you actually need to fix a little bit. So this is a really good time to also contemplate your relationships and see where that's been going. It does look like there are areas of your life where you feel stuck or where you feel trapped, kind of unable to move in any direction is what that's about. It means that you have to find a new path for yourself. It's not really about those other people, it's about you. You're feeling stuck because your path is closed. So it's also important to, when making this self-reflection, not really blame things on others, even where some of them probably are to blame, because people are people, but to realize that notwithstanding whoever might be doing what, I need to find and create a new path. I need to get out of this rut that I'm in and move forward. New Year's resolutions for Sagittarius. Capricorn, of course, as the festive season is on the horizon, it's the month before your birthday, and you do need to remember the month before our birthdays, our energy is always lowest. We also feel at our most vulnerable and weakest, so you do need to be a bit kind to yourself and protect yourself from what can often feel like an overwhelming world. Also, what can often feel like overwhelming people. Relationships are an area of challenge for you this month, Capricorn, and you might feel stuck, you might feel unable to change anything, and you also probably feel that powerlessness that sometimes can happen. And your chart really shows, well, powerlessness is somewhat true. You're not in control. One of the things you need to learn to do at this time is let go of control and realize things are changing in a way I can't control. I must let go of trying to direct it in any direction. At the same time, if you understand your stuckness, you can contribute to moving on and do something over there. Some Capricorns are going to find themselves in new relationships this month. That is really great. Could be a bit of a challenge also to your sense of control, and this is a great opportunity to realize I'm not in control, bring it on and let someone else and the circumstances define what's happening. I don't need to control my own relationships every time. Aquarius, also about relationships this month, and it looks like you're having a slightly happier time than some other people like your next door neighbors, the Capricorns. Relationships are going well and going smoothly. You wouldn't be called a naive person, but you are an idealistic person, and it is your own idealism that might be the one thing that you need to watch out for at this time. Just be aware where you stand and where the other person stands. If it's a new relationship or if it's not a serious relationship with small things that are happening, you just need to keep things in balance and keep a certain amount of guard up from the very beginning. You mustn't be overly suspicious, but at the same time, you mustn't be overly idealistic. That's going to be the challenge to relationships. Ironically, from other people's points of view, you'll seem as ever to be a little bit cut off and a little distant. In your relationships, new or old, this is time to speak up, to make your feelings heard and make your feelings felt for another person as well. That's going to make the real connection, and that's what's going to bring things into much better balance so that you're not misunderstood. In general, misunderstandings in a relationship, say what you're really feeling, you can sort them out fast. Pisces, notwithstanding the virus and increasing numbers, whatever they might be, hopefully you get a chance to fulfill the destiny of your chart this month, which says it's a great time for travel, for receiving visitors, for all sorts of new input. So with all precautions in place, you're going to benefit from all that new input as well. And if you do get a chance to travel, of course you're going to be super careful about all the usual protocols as you do. They're great opportunities to benefit from travel and foreign matters as well. Relationships are also important in this regard, and it does look like you might have to negotiate better fairness and better balance in your relationships at this time. There could even be a few challenges with regards to relationships that also challenge you to speak up or act up in some way. You are very cooperative by nature, often that does work for you, but there is a little bit of a warning that you could be being pushed around a little bit this month, even by a person who doesn't realize that they're doing that. So this is a good time to put firmer boundaries in place, firmer protocols in place. Also ensures that if you travel, you get to assert your need to keep yourself safe or do whatever is required. But for the most part, Pisces, it's time to own your power, stand in your place, and receive the rewards that are coming to you from far off places. Stay safe, wear a mask. I'll be back next week at the